Hello and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to share with you Ark's 10 best carnivores. But just before we get into it, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, as it really does help me out. In at number 10 is the Thyler. Now this thing is a very early addition to Ark, and this has been in Ark for absolutely ages, and it is a very well-known, really great carnivore among so many Ark players. And it isn't the hardest thing to tame, but it definitely will require some sort of skill. The Thyler is a tame spawning in the redwoods that is just a very simple knockout one. But you'll probably want to use the net gun or a trap to actually have that full success, as when you don't build a trap for a tame, the actual success rate of the tame is rubbish. In terms of when it's tamed though, the Thyler is an extremely great tame, able to climb up vertical walls and surfaces, and also it does have a bleed ability as well, which is extremely great for a carnivore to have, and you will see that theme appear across the list of all of these creatures. A bleed ability is by far one of the best abilities a carnivore can truly have. It is by far one of the best things, as it works in damage percentage instead of just overall damage. So no matter the health of a creature, it will still deal 25% of their health, or whatever value the bleed ability affects, which again can be really OP, especially for bosses with a creature like the Donicus. In at number 9 is the RG. Yet again, another creature that has been in Ark pretty much right since the beginning, and it has had a model change since its release all the way back in 2015, but the new model is far superior than the old one, even though the old one does invoke a lot of nostalgia inside me. In terms of the RG's taming method, this thing is again a very basic knockout tame, just requiring a simple trap if you want that maximum success rate, and I think you can use the net gun as well. In terms of when it's tamed though, this thing has a wealth of really great abilities. Firstly, the Argentavis can pick up a wealth of creatures, which is extremely useful, especially with the Anki, as that is a metal harvesting machine. And getting onto its next use, this thing has weight reduction on things like metal, crystal and obsidian. Definitely all valuable resources that in your Ark journey you'll be gathering a lot of. Also, it has even more abilities on top of that. Its saddle acts as a portable smithy, and when it eats a dead body, its regen is absolutely insane. In at number 8 is the Barionics. Now, if you know me already, I always talk about the Barionics very fondly, and you'll probably struggle to see why I put this thing so far back on the list of the top 10 best Ark carnivores. And that is because the Barionics definitely still does have a very specific use case. And yes, overall it is still a very good carnivore with very reasonable health and a great damage stat, being able to take out alphas with absolute ease, and I have done it multiple times before. But in terms of their main use, these are still the caving kings of Ark, and caves are definitely an essential part of any Ark player's journey, as caves are essential on the maps that have them to actually beat the boss on the map, as the artifacts are required to summon bosses like the Broodmother, Mechapithecus or the Dragon, and then with those trophies from those bosses, then you can defeat the Overseer. The Barionics, like most other Ark creatures, is a very easy knockout tame, and you can just use the net gun or a simple trap. This thing will spawn in the swamp, so definitely look out for all of those creatures which will try and absolutely ravage the hell out of you. But once tamed, you've got yourself an absolutely insane carnivore. Like I've said, great damage, great health, great stamina, just overall a really great creature, which is the perfect size for doing any kind of caves. And it does have a special secret ability hidden up its sleeve as well. When C is pressed on your keyboard when you are under the water, the Barionics will do a spin attack, which will stun creatures up to the size of a Megalodon. Now, in terms of the Barionics' downsides, the only real downside is this thing will only eat fish. In at number 7 is the Donicus. This creature was first introduced on Valguero and definitely took multiple players by storm, and now the Donicus is one of the most essential carnivores for any Ark player's journey, especially on Valguero and especially for defeating bosses, as the Donicus has a wealth of tricks up its sleeve. Firstly, it can latch onto large creatures and literally rip them to shreds, dealing that all-famous bleed ability. And unlike pretty much any Ark creature, this will also work on bosses as well, which is why this is one of the most insane creatures for doing bosses on Ark. And on top of that, they have the pack buff as well, and when you add mate boosts on top of that and the Uranus buff that it will give the creatures in a fight, you can have yourself an absolute insane horde of boss creatures, dealing so much damage and tearing through bosses in literal minutes or seconds if you've got an absolutely insane army. But they aren't just great for bosses, they are great for many other things as well. The Donicus is extremely mobile and will not take any full damage at all, which is really a big relief to a lot of Ark players, as that's something that you don't have to worry about anymore. Also, they can scale walls and vertical surfaces, similarly to the Thyler or the Rock Drake, which is extremely useful as these things can traverse any landscape with absolute ease and defend themselves in any situation that you may come across. In at number 6 is the Carodonttosaurus. Now, if you prefer the Giga, then just think of me talking about the Giga in this spot. But in my case, I vastly prefer the Carodonttosaurus over the Giga in pretty much every way. There is basically no comparison for me. The Carodonttosaurus is essentially the Giga, but everything that was wrong with the Giga is now fixed. The only thing is it does do a little bit less damage at base, but with its all famous Blood Rage ability, it will be dealing more damage once you've just got it through a couple of creatures. The Carodonttosaurus is by far one of the strongest dinos in Ark, and it has a very interesting taming method. Essentially what you'll need to do is drag dead bodies to it, and then it will eat those dead bodies, and then at some point you'll be able to ride it and then just decimate all the creatures into the area, and then when you reach 100% taming, you have yourself a Carodonttosaurus. Seems very basic on paper, and actually the tame isn't too bad, requiring no tranks whatsoever, which is a relief compared to what the Giga tame is. Except obviously this is Ark, and Ark is a game of bugs and many other things, so sometimes this tame can go really wrong just due to bugs. Once tamed though, you have yourself basically one of the most powerful carnivores in the game, with absolutely insane health, no blood rage like the Giga, and also the bleed ability, which the tamed Giga does not have. In at number 5 is the Rock Drake. This was a creature introduced on Operation and is still so many people's favorite Ark tame. The Rock Drake is just so cool in its model design, and its usefulness is extremely well invited by the Ark community as well. And if you haven't tamed a Rock Drake yet, then head over to a map that has Rock Drakes. I think Crystal Isles has Rock Drakes, and Fjordur definitely has those too, as Fjordur just seems to have literally every Ark creature just thrown into one map. Fjordur is definitely a great map, and one you should check out if you haven't already. It is free, so you will not have to pay for it. The Rock Drake, unlike many other creatures, has a very interesting taming method. Essentially, you will need to steal the Rock Drake egg and then raise it as your own. And please use air conditioning for this. Do not use torches, as the temperature is so out of the range of torches. You would need so many of those things. It is not worth using them. And obviously the taming method of the Rock Drake is very similar to the Wyvern. It's pretty much the same thing overall. You just go to the kind of trench area where their eggs are, and then you steal one and get out, except on Operation it is significantly harder, as no flyers are allowed on that map. But it is much easier if you do have a lower level Rock Drake already, or just a Rock Drake available to you. Once tamed, you have yourself a really fast Ark glider, capable of a lot of damage. and unlike many other flyers, this thing has really incredible stamina and so little stamina drain, which is really important if you're flying over really long distances. And on top of that, on Arboration, this is a creature which can absolutely cheese the final boss. In at number 4 is the Wyvern. Now, like I said before, the Wyvern is tamed in the exact same way as a rock drake, except these things are significantly easier to tame than the rock drake, and you can use torches to raise these things as well, as the temperature isn't so outside of what torches are capable of. So overall, the Wyvern is a much easier tame than the rock drake, and overall it is just a more accessible creature to many people, as they may not even have the skills, or at that point in time they may not have the resources to tame themselves a rock drake. A Wyvern is a good shout if you do want to practice for that rock drake tame that you may want to do in future. And if you are going for a Wyvern, I would definitely recommend the lightning one, as the lightning Wyvern in my opinion is by far the best, as its lightning ability deals torpor, which can be extremely useful in many combat situations, and compared to other Wyverns it just has really great accuracy and it deals a significant amount of damage. Also, Wyverns are very good harvesters as well, as when you're on the ground, if you press C, their wings will flap and you can gather a very decent amount of wood. Top tip for you there if you didn't know that. Also, like many other flyers similarly to the RG, the Wyvern can pick up a wealth of creatures as well, although I don't know if it can pick up the same amount of creatures as the RG, but pretty much every creature that the RG can carry, the Wyvern can carry. And the Wyvern is significantly faster than the RG. The only real downsides to it is its turning circle is pretty rubbish. In at number 3 is the Crystal Wyvern. Now you may be thinking, why am I putting these things above the Wyvern? The Wyvern is just objectively a much better creature. Well, the main reason for that is the Crystal Wyvern is so much easier to tame than any Wyvern ever could. These things are a passive tame requiring Crystal Isle Crystal. I can't actually quite remember that, but it isn't just normal resource crystal. But the taming is even easier than that. There is a point on the Crystal Wyvern's back where you can simply sit and wait for 20 minutes, and over that period of time you'll feed it that crystal, and then you'll have yourself a Wyvern. You don't even really have to do anything apart from press one button over a short period of time. Really easy and great tame, and it can literally be your first tame on the map, as obviously Wyverns do not have saddle requirements, meaning that there isn't a level requirement to get one. These things are even easier to tame than a Pteranodon, and significantly better, as their damage dealing is so much higher, they are faster than a Pteranodon, and just pretty much in every way they are better than the Pteranodon. Better stamina, better weight, they can pick up more things, they can harvest more things. Especially if you're getting the Blood Crystal Wyvern, you have yourself a really great deal, and you should be proud of that Crystal Wyvern tame. Even more so than a Wyvern tame, as these things are very easy to tame and extremely useful. In at number 2 is the Maywing. Now most people think the Maywing is a herbivore, but in fact this thing does eat meat, and to tame it you need meat. Overall, the Maywing does have a pretty bland taming method, just being a very simple knockout one. What a shame, wildcard. But either way, this thing really isn't that bad with the likes of the net gun or just some signposts. These are by far some of the easiest tames to actually get in Ark, and there'll be no struggle at all as long as you carry the right gear with you. As if you do this without a trap, they can be a bit of a pain, but it can still be done thanks to you having the tech suit on Gen 2. But if you are taming these things on Fjorda, definitely build a trap, and even on Gen 2 I would still very much recommend that. Once tamed, you have yourself a really insane travel mount, probably the best in the game just by far. Yes, the Rock Drake is going to deal that damage, but the Maywing is significantly faster. Also, these things are really great for raising babies, as they work as a portable feeding trough, and you can even steal enemy creatures with these things, which is a nice, cool, neat little feature for you PvP players. And if you're short on a berry gatherer, these things can gather berries as well, even though they are carnivorous. And in at number 1 is the Shadow Mane. Now this is by far one of Ark's most popular carnivores, and is probably just the go-to overall. It is an absolutely insane boss creature. It's great for travel. It's just great for every single task in Ark, apart from gathering berries, as sadly, unlike the Maywing, this thing, it cannot gather those berries, and obviously it's not going to be great for raising creatures, but still, for everything else, you can essentially just have a Maywing and a Shadow Mane, and you can do any task in Ark. The Shadow Mane has a wealth of abilities, including a really high jump. It also has the hydration buff, which only it and the Spino share as far as my knowledge, and also it has pack buffs as well, as when these things are in a pack they're even more overpowered, and they are really great swimmers as well, and they can even charge up their damage over a short period of time. The only real downside is the taming method for these things is really annoying. But actually, overall, it's not the worst thing you'll see, unlike what the Hesperornis is. That tame will forever haunt me.
So, thank you to my wonderful patrons Ekaterina Puchkova, Karina Thorne, Dominic Mesijewski, and Ethan Tapia, who have all supported me through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. If you want to join this list, then go join Patreon or YouTube members, but thanks to all of these guys.